Sometimes you're involved in a wreck and for whatever reason you don't heed our advice to get a wreck report. Or the officer comes to the scene and says, I can't tell who's at fault. And so nobody is ticketed with the incident. And then you find out you have a significant injury from the event or the wreck, and you call us and you're like, what do I do? Either the police didn't come because I didn't know to call the police, which you should always do. Or the police came and they said that they couldn't tell who was at fault. There was no independent witness. That's the phrase they'll use with you. And so it's just he said, she said at the scene about he ran the red light or he ran the red light, and there's no other evidence, right, to prove who's at fault. Do you have a case? You might have a case. There's other factors that have to be considered. The first of which is there any independent evidence that would help us decide who was at fault? Witnesses, surveillance footage from nearby businesses or residences. These days, most every house has some type of Ring doorbell or some kind of video system, Arlo, whatever it is, on their residence that may actually capture the events. Businesses many times have surveillance systems that are running all hours of the day and night that also may capture what happened. Nearby cars who have videos installed in their front and rear facing cameras could have captured the incident. Some of the vehicles that are on the road actually come with cameras in the door handles sometimes that may have captured the situation. So there's a lot of different ways to prove who may have been at fault for a wreck. Sometimes the physical evidence helps us prove who's at fault for a wreck. The marks in the street may prove who's at fault for a wreck. So there's various items that need to be considered if there's not a ticket that's issued, or there's the police didn't come for some reason, and you didn't follow instructions like we tell everybody to make sure the police come to the scene and investigate every accident no matter how you feel. So long and short of it is, it takes a lawyer that has done this for years and years to know what other things to consider in a wreck that has caused serious injuries, but the other side is saying that they're not at fault. That happens many times. I'll usually get on the phone with a prospective client and go through this laundry list of other things that we could use to prove who's at fault. And of course, if we strike out with everything, then there's not a lot you can do, except keep in mind the physical nature of the collision sometimes indicates how the wreck occurred. So if it's a rear-end collision, more times than not, it's going to be easier to prove if you're the one that was collided into, that somebody hit you in the rear, you're going to get the nod there. And remember, we've done videos on the fact that Florida is a comparative negligence state. In the car wreck setting, comparative negligence basically means that even though you were not at fault for the wreck, somebody is arguing that you should share responsibility for the fault associated with the wreck. And in Florida, that legal theory is called comparative negligence. And the jury is asked at the end of the day, out of 100% of fault, how much fault do you assign to the at-fault driver, and how much fault do you assign the person bringing this claim? And if the jury were to determine that you're even 50% responsible for a collision that's caused $1 million in medical expenses, well, half of $1 million, or 50% fault off of $1 million, is still a significant recovery. So you never know whether your injury is going to be significant enough until you've consulted with a lawyer that can tell you what the value of your case is. So it's important, obviously, to call the police after a wreck, no matter how good you feel after a wreck, how unnecessary you may think it is to have an officer there. You should always do it, okay? And the reason why is when everybody leaves the scene, they all think, that wasn't really my fault. Everybody, it's just human nature for you to try to think of reasons why you're not at fault for something, right? Insurance companies don't help that matter, because once they talk to their driver, they'll say, did the police come? And as soon as they hear the police didn't come and there was no ticket issued, right, they will start suggesting to their insured that perhaps maybe they weren't at fault, right? There may be other reasons the accident happened that wasn't their responsibility. So if you have questions about a car wreck where there's not clear fault, and there is a significant injury, you can find us on the web at zarzaurlaw.com, or you can call us at 855-HIRE-JOE. Thank you.